Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we're gonna talk about Malta, how to move to Malta, and here are the topics we're going to cover in this video. Firstly, we're going to give a little bit of an introduction to Malta, its recent history and its economic situation. Then we're gonna talk about residence permits in Malta, the general types for EU and non-EU citizens. Then we're gonna move to getting a residence permit in Malta as a self-employed person, the Nomad residence permit in Malta, followed by the Malta Permanent Residence Program. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the Maltese citizenship, and finally some advantages and disadvantages of living in Malta. And before we start the usual talk, if you want to travel, move or invest abroad, hit the like button, check our other videos, book a consultation call with me, the link is in the description. Let's plan your immigration strategy together. And most importantly, subscribe! Let's start! So, Malta, where is Malta? Malta is an island nation in southern Europe, on the Mediterranean. Since Malta has a very strategic location on the Mediterranean Sea, it was conquered by many empires throughout the centuries. Among those are the French and more recently the British. As a matter of fact, Malta is one of the youngest countries in Western Europe, having gained independence from the British Empire just in 1964. In 1974, it became a republic. Today, Malta is a full European Union member and the smallest state in the EU. It joined the bloc in 2004 together with Cyprus, Slovakia, Slovenia and some other countries in Central Europe. It is also a member of the Schengen area, meaning that in normal circumstances there is freedom of movement for the people inside this area. And finally, Malta is also in the Eurozone, meaning it uses the euro as its currency. So, Malta is a highly developed nation, member of the EU and the Schengen area with a stable economy and currency. Needless to say, Malta is a highly desirable place to reside, regardless if you want to find a job in the country, invest or retire. Now let's talk about residence permits in Malta for EU and non-EU citizens. If you are an EU citizen, you can just come to Malta without much hassle. If you want to stay more than 3 months in the country, you need to register your stay. You will need an address to register your stay, but this is a pretty straightforward process. If you are a non-EU citizen, however, in Malta, like in any EU country, it is much harder to actually get residency. But actually, Malta offers many options for non-EU citizens. The most common types of residence permits in Malta are for employment, or if you have a family member in the country. For employment, it is easier to get a residence permit if you are a health worker, or if you have a high-paying job in sectors like IT and finance. We will focus on options if you are an independent businessman, an investor, a digital nomad, or if you want to live a passive life and retire in Malta. A great advantage of Malta is that if you are a citizen of a country which does not require a visa to come to Malta, such as the US, Canada or the UK, you can actually sort your residency in Malta in many cases. In other popular destinations like Portugal or Spain, in most types of residence permits, you need to apply for a visa before coming to these countries through the embassy or consulate in your country of residence. There are a few exceptions to this, but Malta is definitely much more flexible than Portugal or Spain in this regard. In some cases, you have to apply online before coming to Malta, but without having to deal with embassies and consulates if you are a citizen from a visa-exempt country, such as the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, etc. Now let's talk about self-employment in Malta. It is possible to live in Malta if you are a non-EU citizen and you want to be a self-employed person, but you need to comply with a number of requirements. There are basically two options here. You can either be a self-employed person and go with the simple permit route, which is the same type of permit for those employed in the island nation. The second option is the Nomad residence permit in Malta. The Nomad residence permit in Malta is a great option if you are already working remotely and you are also a non-EU citizen that wishes to reside in the European Union. This option is basically for those who work remotely for a company abroad or who are self-employees registered abroad. The main requirement is that you need to earn 2,700 euros gross per month to apply for this type of permit. You will not need to pay any income tax in Malta if you apply for the Nomad residence permit and your company is registered abroad. So, this is an excellent choice if you are a US citizen. You can still pay your taxes in the US with your company in the US and then live in Malta. This permit is renewable as long as you meet the requirements. The Nomad residence permit in Malta is, in my opinion, much better than the digital nomad visas in countries like Estonia or Croatia. In Estonia or Croatia, they are not renewable. So, they are not a viable path if you want to live in Europe permanently. The next option is the Malta Permanent Residence Program. Another interesting option to reside in Malta if you are a non-EU citizen is the Malta Permanent Residence Program. It is actually the cheapest and fastest permanent residence program currently available in the Schengen area. The financial requirements are still somewhat high, but you'll be getting permanent residence in a matter of months. In most golden visa programs across the continent, you need to live a number of years in the country issuing this type of visa before becoming a permanent resident. For this program, you need a net worth of at least 500,000 euros. But then there comes the beauty of it. You don't need to invest this money in Malta. You have two options here. You can either buy or rent a property. If you buy the property, it has to cost from 300,000 to 350,000 euros, depending on where it is in the country. But if you rent it, all you have to do is pay from 10 to 12,000 euros in rent per year, depending on where it is on the islands, which, in my opinion, is the best option. Then, of course, you will have to pay some fees, which will depend on a number of things, such as whether you're renting or buying property in Malta, how many applicants, etc. But it is safe to say, with an investment of roughly 130,000 euros, you can get permanent residency in the European Union in the country of Malta, including the rent for the first year, which you should keep for 5 years, by the way. Now let's talk about Maltese citizenship. If you want to get citizenship in Malta by naturalization, you need to live in the country for 5 years before applying. The 5 years period is pretty attractive and one of the lowest amounts required among European Union member countries. This period can be shortened if you make a substantial investment in the country and fulfill some other requirements. Now let's talk about some things I consider advantages and disadvantages of living in Malta. This can be a rather individual perception, so your experience in Malta might be different. So let's start with the advantages of living in Malta. The first evident advantage of living in Malta is to be able to live in a highly developed nation with a very stable economy inside the European Union and in the Schengen area, so we can easily benefit from freedom of movement, safety and wealth protection. The second important advantage I see in Malta is that the climate is better than in most European countries. For example, Valletta, the capital of Malta, is a little bit warmer than Lisbon in winter. You will also get more sun in Malta than in most other parts of Europe, since the island nation is in a lower latitude than almost the entire continent. The third interesting advantage of Malta is that English is the official language in the country together with Maltese. This gives you an extra layer of safety when dealing with contracts, for example, or any other kind of paperwork on the island. The last advantage doesn't apply to everyone, but in some cases, if you are a non-EU citizen, you can benefit from a flat tax of 15% on the income that is remitted to Malta, but there's a minimum of 15,000 euros per year to be paid in taxes. This can be an advantage, but just a small portion of people considering living in Malta can benefit from it. And now finally, things that I consider potential disadvantages of living in Malta. The location of Malta can be a disadvantage for some. Even though Malta is in the Schengen area, to get to other European countries, the only viable option is flying. There are ferries connecting Malta to southern Italy in a journey slightly under 2 hours. But once you arrive in Italy, you will still have to drive more 14 hours at least to get into some other European countries like France, Austria, etc. The second disadvantage is that Malta is a quite small country. With a population of just 500,000 inhabitants, you may find that the island might not have a good variety of entertainment options, especially if you're coming from a large city and moving to Malta. So, combining these two factors, you have to fly often if you want to travel from Malta to other countries, and also that the population of Malta is rather small. This is something you should definitely consider before taking the leap and moving to Malta. That's it for today's video. Write in the comment section, what do you think about Malta? Would you live there? Would you travel to Malta? Or if you have been to Malta already, what was your impression of the country? And to end the video, like always, If you want to travel, move or invest abroad, hit the like button, check our other videos, book a consultation call with me, the link is in the description. Let's plan your immigration strategy together. And most importantly, subscribe. See you next time.